Hey folks, Brian here with another edition of my review of the Runequest Role-Playing Glorantha Preview Edition I got at GenCon. Almost done. This episode is about spirits and spirit combat, that kind of thing. Spirit obviously is a disembodied entity, non-magical, lives on the spirit plane. If you're familiar with Runequest, it's all pretty standard stuff. You know, they have power. A little thing different here is charisma in the new version is much more prevalent. So a spirit has power and charisma. Sometimes they have intelligence. They can be bargained with, and they have desires. So you have to have a personality. And along this, I think we'll talk about here in a second. They will aid in exchange for worship. Oh yeah, especially strong spirits. They'll give you aid if you worship them, which means you have to sacrifice magic points to them. That's what it's all about on the spirit plane. It's magic points. And obviously, spirits can be bound then into items, into magic crystals and objects and animals and things like that. That's how you get familiars. That's how you get, well, witches have, like disease spirits and possession spirits like that. So there's all kinds of weird stuff you can do with bound spirits. But as I was talking about before, and I think we'll get to, maybe we won't, I don't recall, but spirits, they've got all the personality kind of traits and stuff going on. They probably have rune affinities and passions and all that kind of stuff as well, which can then help them with what they're doing or interfere with yours. I don't know. Okay, spirit combat. Spirit combat can only be initiated by discorporate beings. That means either a spirit from the spirit plane or a shaman who's disembodied himself to go to the spirit plane to capture spirits, to do that kind of stuff. Okay, when a spirit moves from the spirit plane to the physical material plane, it takes them one melee round while they're becoming visible before they engage in spirit combat. So you've got a melee round of seeing something's happening. Their spirit becoming physical, is going to attack, that kind of thing. And then spirit combat lasts until either both the entities agree to end it, or one of them disengages. And that third option, is if one of them is reduced to 0 magic points. When you get reduced to 0 magic points, spirit combat ends. Yeah, that's the purpose of it. Spirit attacked caster. Sorry guys, I'm reading this. It was a while ago since I wrote these cards. A distraction. Initiating by distraction? That doesn't make any sense to me. Sorry, we'll get to that later maybe. But spirits can, communicate and say, hey, let's stop or whatever. But that's part of the whole disengagement. So I'm not sure why I have that written down there. Okay, combatants. You can have any number of discorporate beings in a spirit combat. That's pretty cool. It's not like where you got melee, where you only get so many people fighting at once. That's because they're discorporate. So what happens if you got your shaman is being attacked by 25 spirits? That can be pretty hairy and difficult to control. Okay. Corporeal beings, us, characters, non-discorporate shamans, whatever, engage spirit combat either with their skills or with spells or with spirit combat. They can also combat other corporeal beings. So if if you're in melee with somebody and the spirit attacks you, you can continue your fight, but your melee requires a concentration check, which is intelligence times 5, or it can be modified, GM's discretion kind of thing. You can move that up or down. Or if you're in this combat, you can attack the spirit, but you can physically attack a spirit that takes an enchanted weapon, but you need to have concentration rolls going on with that. And there'll be more about this enchanted weapon stuff and physically attacking spirits later on. Okay, spirits in spirit combat, they can cast spells. Those all go off on strike rank 1. And they do not need to make a concentration check when they're, doing multiple combat kind of stuff. There is a spirit combat skill. It's used for both attack and defense. It's a magical skill, which means that you can also increase it through training or research or experience. And you can augment your spirit combat skill with skills, runes, and passions, just like any other skill. Okay, resolving spirit combat. Spirit combat is one of those opposed roll things. So the winner is whichever one rolled better. So what they do is they talk about the categories winning. You both have successes, you both have special successes, you both have critical successes. If you got critical success and you got special success, your critical success is a better success, so you win. That's how that works. If they're both normal successes, we're not talking about the difference between the rolled number and your ability and that kind of stuff. It's just, was it a success? So if they're both successes, it's a tie. If they're both specials, it's a tie. Criticals, it's a tie. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Had something pop up. Okay. So it's the quality of the success that counts. Okay. Spirit combat is always resolved on strike rank 12. So if you're physically attacking spirit, that happens on whatever strike rank that should occur on. And any damage that you inflict or receive that's not deflected or absorbed by spiritual armor is then deducted from your magic points. And later on we'll talk about this, how certain attacks can result in hit point damage. But only to corporeal beings. Well, that's not true. You can do it to non-corporeal beings too, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, and we talk about that multiple spirit attack kind of thing. Each spirit combat, because if you got one shaman and 25 spirits attacking him, there's 25 spirit combats going on. So shaman needs to he can attack any one of the 25, but he needs to defend against all 25, and each of those are rolled separately. Okay, spirit combat damage is based on your power plus your charisma. They got a little table there, which ranges from like 1d3, 1d6, 1d6 plus 1, 1d6 plus 3, 2d6, and then additional d6s for categories they're on. All that damage is applied to the magic points of the combatants. You do get a +1 if you're an assistant shaman, and you get a +3 if you're a full shaman. And if you get special critical success, it talks about here that you may inflict actual physical damage to hit points, and we'll get to that later again. But also, a special success, you do double damage. On a critical success, you double damage, and you bypass any spiritual armor kind of stuff. So they still apply. Physical combat, spiritual combat, they're parallel, right? When you or your opponent reaches 0 magic points, if it's a spirit that reaches 0 magic points first, that spirit is then controllable, which means it can then be bound to an item, or you can force it to teach you its spells, that kind of thing. And there's a thing there about shamans having the limit of how many spirits they can control, and if they're at their limit, then the spirit just goes back to spirit plane. If it's a character, physical, corporeal being, they are then open to possession. It says, or they fall unconscious and recover 1 magic point. I would have them do both. That's just, me. They're in possession. If the spirit can possess, then does that, but you still go unconscious. You go get 1 magic point back, but then the spirit, if it's a possession, and we'll talk about that later, different things can happen. Okay, hit point damage. If the embodied target, the corporeal being, is attacked and is a special or critical success, they then take 1 point of damage per d6 of spirit combat damage that they inflict to 1 random location. A couple changes here I would make. First thing, I get rid of random location, it goes straight to hit points. The second thing is, if you're a d6 plus 1 or a d6 plus 3, I would count that as 2 points. If you got a plus modifier, that equals a die kind of deal. That's how I would handle it. Okay, spiritual armor. And they don't really, they mentioned spiritual armor a few times before now, but they don't really tell you what it is. Here they sort of do. Spirit screen spell, spirit block spell. There are some enchantments that can give you spiritual armor, and there are, quote, certain natural items They give some examples like Firehawk tail, feather, and things like that that can also give you spiritual armor. But they don't tell you how much. There's that, you as a GM, you can decide. These are the kinds of things. So make your decision on what other kinds of things and how much they do. They also don't talk about enchantments. So hopefully later on in the book somewhere they talk about enchantments in more detail where we can figure out, oh, that enchantment will give us spiritual armor. Okay, you can attack a spirit during spirit combat with a weapon or with spells. Now, if it's against the spirit, and the spirit can do the same thing. Oh, the spirit doesn't have any weapons, but he's got spells, right? So spirit with spells can attack you as well. So if you're attacking the spirit, the damage that you inflict based upon, attacking with him, the spell or the weapon, is all based on the magical content, and it goes to their magic points. For example, spirit magic boost, blade sharp, fire blade, that kind of stuff, doesn't do anything to spirits. Now, a rune magic boost, like true weapon, will do damage to the spirit, but it's only that magical portion. So, example, if you did true weapon on a broadsword, which is a D8 plus 1, normally, plus a D8 plus 1 for the true weapon portion, it does the D8 plus 1 for the true weapon portion to the spirit, to its magic points. Okay, enchanted weapons. You can have iron or other rune magic weapons that are either enchanted or not enchanted. The enchantment process, if I remember right, has to do with kind of binding it to you. So if you picked up somebody else's iron armor or iron weapon, it would just be iron, it wouldn't be enchanted, and so there's other things that go on. But if it is in fact enchanted, then it will do normal damage. So that broadsword, if it's an iron broadsword that's enchanted, it would do a D8 plus 1 to magic points of the spirit. No bonus for physical strength or physical size. Just straight weapon damage. And again, if you've got true sword on that, then you get the true sword damage as well. So there's some ways where you can whack on a spirit pretty bad, or pretty badly. Okay, I mentioned all that. Okay, spirit combat failures, fumbles, not failures, fumbles. In Runequest, I haven't looked at 6 in detail, but 2 and 3, when it comes to fumbles, they always had a table. Fumbles were a table because it's weird stuff that happens. Same thing here, spirit combat fumbles, and it can range from everything from being confused, so you'll lose your next round's worth of actions, or I'll lose all actions in the next round, all the way up through you lose faith in your fight and you surrender. You get possessed or whatever, or the spirit disengages and runs away, something, whatever. Okay, now, can you disengage from spirit combat? Yes, you can. 2 ways to do that. One is to be successful in a spirit dance roll. And it says you can do that anytime during the round, but I make the correction. My action is to do spirit dance this round. So when you get to your strike rate for spirit dance, that's when it occurs. If you're successful, you dance away. You're disengaged. And that will occur probably before strike rank 12, which is when spirit combat occurs. So there will not be spirit combat that round. You're just disengaged. It's over. The other way is you announce your intent to disengage. You engage in spirit combat. You're successful in your opposed roll. So this is strike rank 12. You are then disengaged at that point. 2 options. Okay, possession. When a spirit reduces a corporeal being, i.e. a PC, to 0 magic points, there are 2 kinds of spirit possession that can then occur. Because when he gets to 0, he's open to possession. The first is a dominant possession. This is where the intelligence and power of the corporeal being are suppressed. So the intelligence and power of the spirit are what's running the physical body. The character, the corporeal being, cannot regain magic points, so he'll be at 1. According to my rule, they don't say that in the rules here. Nor can the corporeal being heal the body. So if he had healing spells, he couldn't do that. Now, I think that if the spirit has those spells, he could possibly do that. That would make sense to me. Okay, and the possessing spirit running the body only has basic percentages on skills for running the body, unless, of course, the spirit has their own percentages. They don't talk about this here, but I'm telling you, this is how I would run it. If the spirit, you're talking about a demon, right? Who's possessing people. When he possesses people, he can learn things, right? He can have increases in training and experience and all kinds of stuff, right? So if he increases in, for example, broadsword or one-handed sword skill, he got base of, was it 10, 25, something like that, 10%, and he learns through his possession of the body to get that up to 50, and he gets, exercised. When he possesses another body, he's going to have that 50% because the spirit knows how to control a body like that. My 2 cents. Okay. The second kind of possession, covert. This is where the spirit shares the form of the body. The body, the corporeal being's intelligence power is still in control. It's just got something going on. And both of these forms of possession, if you have spirit view, well, if you can see the person's spirit, there's things, dark smudge or, splotchy or something like that, you can tell they're being possessed. Now, the requirements for covert possession differ based upon the spirit or the type of spirit that it is. And that's all covered in the bestiary, which when I get done with this, I've got a copy of the bestiary, so we'll go through that real quick too. Okay, once a covert spirit has possessed a corporeal being, it cannot be expelled. So even though your magic points are going up, you can't then engage in spirit combat with a spirit that's already possessing you. However, they can be exorcised, usually by a shaman, engage in spirit combat. Once the spirit's reduced to 0 magic points, it flees back to the spirit plane. But it does mention here that if you exorcise a spirit, that spirit is no longer eligible for being bound. Once you exercise it, it's gone. Okay, that's spirit and spirit combat. Next time we'll talk about the spirit world. And there's some spirit cults in there. We may get to that point. And after that, we get into sorcery. So that'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how Runequest G deals with sorcery. Because the only sorcery I'm familiar with is Runequest 3. I didn't really look too much into the sorcery for Runequest 6 because I did not like the way they handled magic, in my opinion. But until then, happy gaming. Ciao.